Welcome into the Hard Count, Thursday, May 29th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet, and we are ever so that much closer to the college football season actually being played, because that's what we're here for, man. We're here for the games. We're here for Saturdays. We're here for maybe the cheeky Thursday and Friday afternoon that we get. But we got a lot to unpack on this show. If you tuned into our last show, we unpacked some of the anonymous quotes from different coaches around college football as it pertains to certain schools in the SEC. I want us to circle back now on the Big Ten, because we got some anonymous coaches talking about Bryce Underwood in Michigan, talking about Ohio State and Ryan Day, talking about Oregon and them being in the mix to win the whole darn thing, which we've said on this show. But before we get to that, I want to start with this, man. This is that part of the year in college football that I understand is necessary, but it bugs me a little bit. It bugs me a little bit because I think we have a lot of people in this space that are very bent on talking about things that have nothing that actually have to do with the college football games being played. It's all structural, it's all politics, it's all realignment, the playoff and all those things. And again, I understand why we have to do that. We'll take part in some of that as much as it is necessary. But the ugly part of it is I think we get to a point here in the college football calendar where practice for the spring is finished, the portal's closed, and we all are just kind of sitting there twiddling our thumbs and saying, okay, well, I guess this is the part where we all argue now, right? I guess this is the part where we all get a little bit toxic. And if you didn't know any better, if you were just flying over college football as a sport and you were privy to some of these discussions going on social media or in the media world in general, it's just like it would make you think that college football wasn't the greatest sport ever. It would make you think that the people within college football hated each other. But why would I sign up to be a part of that and follow that sport? Those people are toxic. They're talking down to each other. Like, this is the part of the year where we get a lot of people that are just a little bit pretentious in how they approach this thing, because I think a lot of people in this space right now have great ideas as to how to fix college football. But if you speak out against those ideas and say, hey, actually, I think your thought on the playoff there might be a little bit incorrect, here's why, it is very quickly met a lot of the time with, well, you don't agree with me, therefore, one, you're not smart. Two, you must have some other hidden agenda against college football, which to me is just discombobulating in itself. It's like, well, we don't agree, so therefore I hate college football. I don't think that's the case. I think we can all be on the team that is for college football and have different ideas and be reasonable people. I don't appreciate that part of the year, or this part of the year that lends itself to that part of the discussion. So to wrap this whole thought up, our mission, one of the missions with this show that we get to talk about college football year-round, is to have the best time on the internet talking about the best sport that exists. If you had to sum up our mission, that would, I think, be one of the mission statements we would land on, maybe unofficially. Because college football is phenomenal. Why are we complaining so much about it? Again, I understand we can have objections, but to complain ad nauseum and be that the only thing that you're talking about around this sport this time of year, it's like, what are we doing here? Let's talk about actual games being played. Let's talk about how week 3 is going to be cinematic with Oregon and Penn State and Florida and LSU and Tennessee and Georgia. Why don't we talk about what's so great about this sport? If we spent a fraction of the time that we spend complaining about college football, celebrating college football, I think we'd all be a lot happier. And this isn't me lobbying for us to have some glass half full approach all the time and be sunshine and rainbows. I get there's problems with college football. I totally agree. I think we have to work together to try and find some solutions there. People that are in charge making a lot of money have to work together to find some solutions there. But to just pretend that we're all doom and gloom and college football is going to the gutters, like, I just have a very, very hard time getting on board with that. Maybe that's my predisposition, maybe that's my wiring, but overall, I think college football is still phenomenal. I don't think we're sunk yet, and to just spend time complaining about how college football is horrible, and if you disagree with my take, then you must hate college football. Not here for it, not going to stand for it. We're going to make sure we celebrate the greatest sport on the face of the planet, and we're going to make sure we do it, make sure we do it year-round. So if that's you, make sure you're subscribed. We celebrate the greatest sport, that is college football. But let's get to what some of these anonymous coaches are saying across the Big Ten as it pertains to these different teams in the Big Ten. Let's start with Michigan. We had one coach bring out this anonymous quote with what Michigan has to do around Bryce Underwood. Go ahead and check this out. Said, quote, "The focus is on Bryce Underwood, but it should be on finding new running backs, to go with him." That is, again, an anonymous Big Ten assistant coach. So my first thought here is I'm like, are we not paying attention to what Michigan has? Then went out and got Justice Haynes from Alabama, who had a pretty decent yards per carry number during his time in Tuscaloosa, highly rated recruit. And you had Jordan Marshall, who went ridiculousness against Alabama in the bowl game. The whole thought behind that quote was, well, Michigan, they're still going to have their basic principles of we punch you in the mouth, run the football, all those things. But make no mistake, it's still about Bryce Underwood. Like, one, you have backs to go with him. Let's make that very clear. Two, Bryce Underwood is the main point. And I've gone on record on this show and said, listen, Bryce Underwood is going to be good. What else do you have around him to maximize him? That's not me saying you just dismiss Bryce Underwood and what he can mean to Michigan football here in 2025. He is still the main point for your success here next season. It's ironic because another part of that quote that we weren't able to fit on the quote graphic is that very same anonymous assistant Big Ten coach says, well, they were a quarterback away last year from being a serious contender in the postseason. Okay, so which is it? It can't be focused on the backs and get backs to go with Bryce Underwood and not, oh, you have a quarterback to go for the postseason. Bryce Underwood, I think, is that for Michigan. Now, what he is in 2025, again, is what's going to determine how far they go. Now, why do we think that Bryce Underwood is the main point for Michigan? Same thing that assistant coach just said. Championships in modern college football are won at the quarterback position. With the expanded playoff, with the way the conferences are realigning and they're becoming deeper, you have got to have a difference maker at quarterback to go win trophies. I love Jacob Coker. I appreciate A.J. McCarron. You can't win national championships with a game manager at quarterback anymore. It's not going to happen because at some point in time, whether it be in the regular season or whether it be in the college football playoff, you are going to run into a roster that is either more talented than you or as talented as you. And so in that situation, your quarterback has to put on the cape and say, no, this is how we're winning the game. Get on my back. I'm making the plays here necessary for us to win this football game. It doesn't have to be a thing that goes that way the entirety of the year, but in specific instances, that has got to be a reality for your football team. Same thing for Michigan in this upcoming season. Like, that's the reason why I'm so high on them. I think we get a lot of people in the comment section that are maybe outside of the maize and blue bubble and say, well, JD, why do you believe so much in Michigan? I mean, I get they finished the year strong, but like Michigan last year wasn't really flirting with the college football playoff. I mean, they won 7 games during the regular season, that is. And I hear you. I hear where you're coming from. But the reason why Michigan is so dangerous and the reason why we think this anonymous assistant coach is off base here is you talk about how Michigan is built. They're built from the roster out into what the quarterback can be. They didn't take a quarterback and say, can we build around this guy and make him special and have enough talent around him from a defensive side and line of scrimmage. Like, Michigan on a roster level is good enough to where if you add in a plus at quarterback, you're going to be able to compete for probably the Big Ten championship, and in that point, you get yourself into the college football playoff and make a run. Like, the house in itself is in a great spot. Great location, great structure, great number of rooms, but that's not what makes a house awesome. A house becomes awesome when you build out the home gym, get the living room nice setup, couple of TV screens to watch college football on Saturdays. Michigan's got a great house. They got a great house. Do they have a quarterback now to furnish that thing and make it a real destination? That's what we're watching. That's what's going to make the difference. Not so much do you have running backs, no, they have running backs. They have talent on defense. Bryce Underwood, how far can he take them? That's what it comes down to. So I hear what that assistant coach is saying. I understand it. But no, we wholeheartedly believe the focus can, should, and will be on number 19 here all fall and what he can do. Now, I'll say this again. Bryce Underwood and what he is in 2025, a lot of it does go hand in hand with supporting him in 2025. Like I told you, I think he's going to be more than good enough, but you still have to have the things around him to be good enough, if you're catching my drift here. So I'm not saying the focus should be on the backs. I'm saying the focus should be on the backs along with Bryce Underwood, along with the offensive line, along with the receivers. It might be defensive-led pretty early on there for Michigan, but regardless, they got a quarterback now to where if you are able to elevate him and he plays to his potential, Michigan's going to be in a really good spot. So that's the anonymous coach rumblings right now around the Wolverines. But let's go from Michigan to their rival Ohio State. Ohio State won the national championship last year, and everyone's talking about how much talent they had last year, and the $20 million roster was a fun headline for a lot of folks in the media. And we got one anonymous coach actually putting words to what we've said for a long time on this show. Check this out. This coach says, do they need to beat Michigan Yeah, sure. But this program, funny, they misspelled program there. That's their fault. Is at the very top of the sport because of the head coach, because of Ryan Day. Boom. Mic drop. Mic drop on that whole thing. We'll unpack that quote right now. Before we do that, though, I want to make sure y'all know this show, that quote, brought to you by Athlon. Yes, Athlon Sports, but brought to you by our friends over at Roback, man. Roback, they have been with this show for a very long time. They've been with us for a very long time, and they are, I'll just say this, I think they're making the best athleisure kind of product for you in the market. Hoodies, polos, shirts. They got some Delta Performance pants, everyday shorts, whatever you need to get right this summer. Roback, they got you covered. And I keep highlighting this specifically in Ohio State segments for a reason. Y'all, they got a hoodie with the script Ohio on it. It looks nice. A little red joint looks nice with the script white Ohio. Go check that out at roback.com. Save yourself some money with code JD. Again, that's code JD, those two letters, RHOBACK.com, 20% off all performance polos, shorts, the sweet script Ohio hoodie. Go get that with code JD at roback.com. So just what I said, that anonymous assistant coach is saying Ryan Day is the reason why Ohio State is where they are right now in the world of college football. And the take that Ryan Day was born on third base, while it was kind of funny for social media and it was great for punchline culture and all that, we never really bought into that because it always felt like you're saying, well, yeah, that CEO is, in a good spot with his company because, look who's on his staff. Look at who's on his sales team. Look at who's in that personnel department. Well, why do you think that CEO has that staff? Because he assembled it himself. Why do you think Ryan Day has Jeremiah Smith on his roster, Will Howard on his roster last year, Julian Sain on his roster this upcoming season? Because he went and recruited those guys. And so I understand the brand has a lot to do with it, but you still have to put the pieces in position to go win a national championship. Like Ohio State, we'll say this, when they lost to Michigan, think about how much harder Ryan Day's job got because of that loss. The external volume, you can use it for motivation, and Ohio State ultimately ended up doing that. But you think how difficult that was to get everybody back on the same page to go make a playoff run after you get the wind beat out of you from Michigan? That's tough to do. That's tough to refocus. And so, yes, of course, long term, we've said this many, many times. If Ryan Day doesn't figure it out against Michigan, that will be his undoing. But from what I can gather, they were able to go win a national championship last year. Yes, because of the talent, but in large part because of how Ryan Day put it all together. So let me say this. Ohio State right now is the favorite to win our national championship in 2025 when you check the odds in Las Vegas. If you agree with that or disagree with that, it doesn't really matter. Those are the odds. If they win another national championship this year, Ryan Day doing it for the second time in a row will be more impressive than when Kirby Smart did it. It's going to be a very, very tough day for the anti-Ryan Day crowd because I think the excuses that you had as to why you don't think he's one of the best coaches in the sport, all you have left is the Michigan argument. And at that point, who's to say Ryan Day and Ohio State don't beat Michigan this year? If they repeat and beat Michigan next year, there's nothing else left to say. 70-10 as a head coach right now. If they repeat, it'll be with a different quarterback. Remember, Kirby Smart did it with Stetson Bennett 2 years, but again, different quarterback. He'll have Will Howard and Julian Sain as his quarterbacks, I'm assuming. Also, 2 new coordinators for Ryan Day. 101st returning production in college football. Georgia, when they did it, the second year they were 96th in returning production. So we're splitting hairs there, but the bottom line is it's not like Ohio State has a bunch more coming back than Georgia did that 1 year. Ryan Day at that point in time, if they repeat, the discussion for him being the best coach in college football, I think becomes very, very real. And I think it's very fair to say that it could be Ryan Day as the best coach in college football if he gets it done. But my frozen pizza take right now as we move into 2025, I think Julian Sain is going to be real good. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Frozen pizza at 8 p.m. sitting in your freezer, it's appealing. Maybe if you're a DiGiorno fan, you'll pull the trigger and go put that in the oven. But the longer this thing goes, the further you get into the night, the better that thing looks, man. The confetti dropped in Atlanta. Cato and I were on the field when Ohio State won the national championship. And you think about Ohio State and what they can be in 2025. In that moment, you say, yeah, they're going to be a good team. Julian Sain should be good. We'll see who's playing quarterback for them and stuff like that, what the roster looks like, all that. But as we get further and further into this, media days right over the horizon, fall camp around the corner, the season around the corner. As we get later, I'm like, hey, I think Ohio State's gonna have a real shot at this thing. Okay, and a big part of that, like I just said, Julian Saint, I think, is gonna be a dude. Offensive line around him, 3 or 5 dudes coming back. Pretty fair to say the best wide receiver room in America. In the spring game, he absolutely balled out. I've told you before, I love the way the guy's wired with him choosing to go to Ohio State once Nick Saban retired. I love the way he's wired. And so all that's to say, that paired with what Ryan Day is as a head coach, it's all in a spot now where it can come together. And so if Ohio State repeats, there's going to be this temptation to once again say, well, the talent at Ohio State, well, the brand power, well, all those things. No. At that point, yeah, Ohio State has got the talent in large part because of what Ryan Day has recruited. But Ryan Day put a culture in place that is at a championship level that elevated Ohio State with all these new faces on the staff, on the roster, to go get it done again. So let me make this very, very clear. Ryan Day is one of the best coaches in college football. If you didn't feel that way before, you should now after that national championship. But Ohio State didn't win in spite of Ryan Day. They won because of Ryan Day. And he's a chance now, I think, to drop the mic once again on the college football world if they get it done in 2025. So I love that anonymous coach came out and said that. I think they need to be said out loud by more people in the world of college football. But overall, man, just had to be said out loud, and I'm glad that it was said out loud. Speaking of things being said out loud, Oregon is going to be a force yet again in the world of college football here in 2025. And we got an anonymous coach talking about them potentially being in the mix to win a national championship in 2025. Now, they lose a lot, but check out this quote. The coach speaks to that. He says, "This is a reload, not a rebuilder. Oregon is one of the elite talent evaluating programs in the country. They're in the mix to win it all." Oregon right now is, I think, breathing a similar air that those Kirby Smart teams were at Georgia, those Nick Saban teams were at Georgia. And that's a lofty comparison, so hear me very clearly. I don't really care about the lost production for them outside of the quarterback position. Like, that's kind of what you were saying with Georgia, right? You say, hey, who's the quarterback? For Bama, who's the quarterback on those Nick Saban teams? But the production you lost, wherever you were from last year to this year, I wasn't really worried about it. Why? Because Oregon is in a spot now, those teams were in a spot where the kitchen was absolutely stocked. Oregon is 2 top 5 portal classes the last 2 years. Cool. The last three recruiting classes for Dan Lanning, all top 10. Cool. Last 2 of those recruiting classes are top 5. So you see what I'm saying here. The players are there for Oregon to be successful. But speaking to the reloading side of things, it's not just guys they're grabbing with a lot of stars next to their name. They're elite evaluators. We talked about Marshall Malco on a previous Hard Count episode. We were doing our GM All Access series and what he is for Oregon. Oregon, and this quote highlighted it, they're elite at grabbing guys that fit their system that are going to thrive in their system. And so the translation there, like I just said, they're not just chasing after your 4-star, your 5-star. I'm sure that they're probably, if they're grabbing guys like a Decorian Moore, like a Dante Moore, like the rating probably has something to do with it. I don't think that the recruiting services are off base there when it comes to evaluating those guys at a high school level and beyond. But they have the roster that fits their standards and their approaches in Eugene. So we speak to what it's going to look like for Oregon in 2025, and I just said I don't worry about what you lost production-wise outside of quarterback. I don't worry about Oregon has a quarterback either. Like, how much have we heard around Dante Moore and what he's going to be in 2025? I have a ton of confidence in him because he's had a full year now to sit in that system under Dylan Gabriel, under Will Stein, and see how it's supposed to be done. Remember now, Bo Nix, when he was a Heisman finalist, he'd been at Oregon 2 years. It was his first year in Will Stein's system. Dylan Gabriel, same deal. Gets to Oregon, 1 year, Heisman finalist. Dante Moore has more experience than both those guys. And so, we're going to do a prediction show here in the not-too-distant future. It's going to be very difficult for me to say that Dante Moore is not going to be a Heisman finalist because of the Will Stein offense, because of the system, because of all those things. So you're telling me you got confidence in a quarterback because of his skill set and because of his time in that system where you don't have to reinvent the playbook, reinvent the system for him. You don't have to worry about what I just said, the production, or I shouldn't say the production, the talent around him replacing that production. I love everything about Oregon. And so I think there is maybe some concern in the college football world around Dan Lanning and how he handles coaching at the end of games, or at least there was before this last season. And I just want to say this. The Dan Lanning approach to late game coaching, if I were a player at Oregon, he coaches it exactly how I would hope my head coach would operate. Like the Washington game in 2023, I guess it was, he gets a lot of flack for because they went for 2 and they're going on fourth down, when maybe conventional wisdom would have said, well, hey, at that point, maybe just get the ball back to your defense, let them, try and defend a longer field. I think Dan Lanning coaches to his players. I think he calls the game to his players with confidence in his guys to go get it done and go for the kill. Like we saw at the end of the Ohio State game last year when they came to Eugene. They're out there with 12 men on the field, kind of little chess game from the folks in Eugene with how they called that thing at the end of the game. I love that from Dan Lanning. I think he coaches to win the football game. And so I understand now that there's some things that maybe you would have loved to see differently as he continues to elevate as a head coach. But, I mean, you look at Oregon, all they've done is elevate. All they've done every single year under Dan Lanning is get better. And so as we look at Oregon in the big picture, as long as he's the head coach there, they're going to recruit. They're going to have a culture that goes for the kill. They're going to have a coach that only gets better. I think it's a matter of when, not if, they win a national championship. I've said that a few times, but I don't get tired of saying it. They will win a national title under Dan Lanning. Is it this year? I don't know. But I think in the next 3 to 5 years, they will have at least one Natty in Eugene, and it's because of how they recruit, how they rebuild, and this year should be no different with Dante Moore at quarterback. So that anonymous coach talking about Oregon being a reload kind of team, I get it. The returning production numbers don't look exactly how you would hope they look, but they're in that tier now with what Saban was at Bama, what Kirby's been at Georgia. I don't question the talent they have on that roster because of how they go about their business in the portal and now recruiting at the high school level. And they evaluate guys to fit their system. Make no mistake about that. Now, we got an anonymous quote about Penn State. And, it's funny. We do our very best on this show to be optimistic. I told you at the top of this thing, we celebrate college football. We try to have the best time on the internet talking about college football. But we got an anonymous coach talking about Penn State, and it's not going to be me being overly optimistic. So go ahead and check out this quote from an anonymous Big Ten assistant coach. It says, quote, "This is the best roster in James Franklin's time there, and they're probably a favorite to win the league entering the season." All right, lots to unpack here. First of all, that's not true. They are not the favorite to win the league in Vegas, at least. They're tied for the second best odds with Oregon, which I'm here for. I mean, Penn State's got a good football team. I like James Franklin a lot. I like Drew Aller. I like Singleton and Allen and all that. I'm not yet ready to trust Penn State to go win the Big Ten. I'm not ready to trust them yet. Penn State, to me, is that friend that continues to cancel plans on you. And they don't let you know till the last minute. Hey, let's go see a movie. Awesome. What time? 7:15. Cool, I'll be there. You get there at 7 o'clock. Okay, you're a bit early. 7:10, 7:15, 7:20, they're running late. 7:30, I'll be there. 7:45, hey, I'm not going to make it. Every year, and I've said it before on our end of this show and said, hey, I believe in Penn State. I think they're going to be great this year, going to compete for the college football playoff, all those things, go compete for the Big Ten championship, and then they cancel plans on you. Now, last year they made the playoff. This year, I think they'll make the playoff too. But to win the Big Ten, I'm not sold. You can only cancel plans on me so many times before I sit here and say, you know what, actually, I don't think you're coming. Maybe I'll see you down the road at the party. Maybe I'll see you at the playoff. But you're telling me you're going to win the Big Ten every year, and then every single year it's 7:45. The movie's already been playing now. Previews are over. I got my popcorn. Nowhere to be found. Canceling plans. So Penn State now, I started asking myself the question, well, there's got to be a reason for this, right? Like, Penn State's not flaky. James Franklin's not a bad coach. Drew Aller's not a bad quarterback. Like, what is keeping Penn State from following through here and winning the Big Ten championship? They made the game last year against Oregon. Make that very clear. They were 4 quarters away from winning the Big Ten championship last year. To me, Penn State just doesn't have a ride. Not their fault. Thought they had a ride probably when they told you they were coming. But Uber canceled, couldn't find the car keys, whatever it was. I don't think Penn State has the ride in the sense that I don't think they actually have Big Ten championship caliber players just yet. Now, this quote, should it be true, maybe that changes this year. Maybe they do have the best roster James Franklin's ever had. Maybe that's good enough for them to win the Big Ten. But I've seen Oregon and Ohio State and other teams throughout, the old Michigan teams the last couple of seasons before this past year just have, quite frankly, better players than what Penn State has. And that's not saying Penn State can't still make some waves in the national, picture for college football. But if you're telling me they're going to win the Big Ten, I'm going to say, you know what? I appreciate you letting me know you have those plans. I appreciate you saying you want to be there. But the burden of proof is on you after this many years of us saying Penn State's got a better talent factor, they got more dudes, all this and that. I'm going to wait for you to actually show up at the movies, show up at our plans before I say, okay, I trust you. Before I say, okay, I believe in Penn State. Now, I like Penn State a lot. I think they'll probably be in that college football playoff discussion. And at that point, win 3 or 4 games and you're there. But you're telling me they're going to win the Big Ten. I'm going to say, I need to see it. I need to see it before I trust at that level yet again. So for everyone saying that we're just a positivity factory over here on this show and we're not critical of teams, the ball is now in your court. Let's talk about USC, though, because we got an anonymous quote from a Big Ten assistant coach about USC. And all of these, by the way, are courtesy of Athlon, the preview magazine that dropped, which got our hands on. And I'll tell you what, we sat down, DoorDashed some payway, some Chinese, and it was tremendous. It was a great way to spend your night. But reading through these anonymous quotes, got one on USC that I think hit the nail on the absolute head. Check this out. This Big Ten assistant coach says, that's what gets lost about the USC teams that won big. They were killers in the front 7. That's been missing. Goes on to say, if they take the next step on defense, we're talking about a team that can go in and play with the best programs in the nation once again. Y'all, I think USC, there's a bit of a disconnect between the image they have with the college football public and then when they've actually been at their best. And this assistant coach absolutely nails it. Y'all, reputation isn't really reality. Like the reputation of the iPhone was, hey, you got apps, you got efficiency, you got some artificial intelligence now. I mean, you got these cool this motion kind of thing with your iPhone. When you shake it, it does things for you. And it's like, that's cool, but like I'm here for what the actual camera can do for us. I'm here for FaceTime. I'm here for being able to open that thing up with facial recognition. I'm not here for the fact that I can play, Angry Birds for 4 hours or Fruit Ninja or whatever. Like, I'm here for the actual practicality of it all. USC, the reputation is quarterbacks, Heisman trophies, scoring a lot of points, offense, and that's all true. That all comes with it. But like in reality, when USC has been at the top of their game, there's been some absolute psychopaths on defense. Troy Polamalu, Clay Matthews, Brian Cushing, Willie McGinnis, Junior Seau, Keith. Like we could keep going down the line here. Taylor Mays. There's been some dudes at USC on the defensive side that crack skulls that have made them a national power. Now, you've had the quarterback play to go with it, don't get me wrong, but I think when you talk about USC in 2025, if Jade Mayava is a little bit more timely than Miller Moss and they're better in the fourth quarter, like USC is going to be right there in the mix. If I'm a USC fan and I had, let's call it a college football genie, show up and give you, he's maybe like a little bit short on time, so he can't give you 3 wishes, gives you 1 wish. He says you can wish either for a better offense or a better defense in 2025. If it were me as a USC fan, I would say better defense, and I wouldn't think twice about it. Reason being, last year, USC, they scored 30 points a game offensively. Look at who they have to play. There's probably 2 games you got to outscore people. At Notre Dame, at Oregon. Like, outside of that, I'm not thinking I got to go score like 40 to beat Nebraska, do I? Got to score 40 to beat Michigan State. I don't think so. Like, USC overall, the gauntlet for them within their schedule, it's not going to be a can we go score 50 a game. It's going to be can we score what we did last year at that level, and then defensively take even another step further under Danton Lynn. Because if that's the case, dude, if USC is truly elite defensively, we're talking about allowing less than 24 points a game, they're going to be a playoff team. And that sounds pretty hyperbolic right now in the month of May, but I'm just telling you, I think that's the facts of the matter. USC, they're okay enough on offense, which sounds bizarre. With Lincoln Riley calling the show, with, I think, more timely quarterback play, with Jacoby Land out wide, they're going to be okay on offense. If the defense levels up from really good to great, USC is going to be in the mix for the college football playoff, and I feel very confident saying that. So I appreciate this anonymous coach shining some light on that. Not all these quotes have been on the money, but that quote definitely was with that coach. USC, the reputation is quarterbacks, Heisman's, all that. It's true, but USC is at their best when they got some absolute dude on the defensive side, and I'm not so sure they're not on the doorstep of getting that done. Now, one more anonymous quote I want us to talk about here pertains to our friends in Lincoln, Nebraska. All right, what are the expectations for Nebraska from this one anonymous coach? We'll talk about it right now. Before we do that, though, make sure you are subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, College Football Nothing But. If you're a Nebraska fan and want to see more Nebraska content, let us know by subscribing to the channel. Comments are great. We appreciate that. But when you subscribe, that actually tells us that you want more content as it pertains to your team. I said it before on this live show. We want to have the best time on the internet talking about college football. So if that sounds like something you're into, go ahead and subscribe. Appreciate y'all in advance for that. All right. So this anonymous quote came from a Big Ten assistant coach. Go ahead and check this out. He says, the expectation is they being Nebraska, finally compete among the top level in the league, end quote. If you're a Nebraska fan, dude, how good does that feel to hear that, to read that from an anonymous coach within your conference? Here's what I'll say. I think some Nebraska fans see that and say, well, yeah, JD, we've been saying that for some time now. Have you? There's been excitement. There's been optimism. And I'm not telling you that optimism has been misplaced. Expectations are earned. Excitement is generated in-house. Excitement you can have when you land a Dylan Rhule via the recruiting trail. Cool. Excitement is there when you get Matt Rhule. Cool. Expectations is when you actually have something to stand on. Last year for Nebraska, you ended the bowl drought. Cool. You won a bowl game. Cool. You had a first-year starting quarterback. It was up, it was down, but you saw flashes. You saw a different caliber of player at quarterback than you've had Lincoln for some time. You can have expectations now. Expectations are earned, and you've earned those expectations. Like your anniversary, for those of y'all that are maybe dating or you're married. That first one, I mean, you're out there flying blind. It's excitement. Never had one of those before. Awesome. So you do flowers, do the dinner, do the gifts, all that. That's fun. Second anniversary, though, there's expectations. Why? Because what was that first anniversary? You went to a nice place for dinner? Better be nicer. That first gift that you bought was maybe $50. I wouldn't be afraid to go and spend $75, $100 for that dinner or for that gift the second time around. Expectations come from something that actually can be stood upon. And so now for Nebraska, look at what, expectations are warranted by. Dana Holgorsen, I talked about him a lot on previous shows. The way that he elevated Dylan Rhule and seemingly made all of it make more sense to him as a passer, averaging 70% completion percentage when he took over the offense, him being Dana Holgorsen, and now he's a full year to build his system. Matt Rhule from year 2 now to year 3 that continue to kind of elevate from a win total perspective. 2025, you play 4 true road games. Year 2 starter at quarterback, all these things. There is real reason for expectation for Nebraska. When you look across the conference, look at their schedule, it's all there. Like Nebraska is no longer this lovable loser. Oh, man, I hope Nebraska with that fan base, they deserve it. I hope they can get to a bowl. You did all that. That's fun. But it's not fun when you do it for the second year in a row and the third year in a row, and it's like, man, can we get past the 6-win mark, 7-win mark? Can we actually go win something here? That's the expectation. Does it happen? A lot of that is going to be on the shoulders of Dylan Rhule. A lot of it's going to be on the shoulders of that receiver room. But Matt Rhule in year 3, we say it a lot. Death, taxes, and Matt Rhule making something happen in year 3 are the few certainties in life. So what does that look like in his third year? I don't know, but again, only 4 true road games. You got that game early in Kansas City, which is essentially a home game for Dylan Rhule. If you know, you know. I cannot wait to see what they are here in 2025 because everyone's talking about Illinois being the Indiana of this upcoming season with their schedule and all that. I hear that, and I appreciate that. I think the Indiana of this year is going to be Nebraska. Does that mean they make the playoff? Remains to be seen, but I don't think that's irresponsible to have a discussion like that around Nebraska. And this anonymous Big Ten assistant coach is saying just as much. So Nebraska, there's no more lovable loser. There's no more, oh, good for them, excitement. It's like, no, real expectations because you've earned those expectations. So pressure makes diamonds, but pressure is privilege. It's a privilege they've earned out there in Lincoln. All right, so we're in the month of May, and this is something we're going to continue to get a feel for as we progress throughout the college football season. But Caden Smith and I, we have the privilege of just sitting in the office and talking ball, dude. Like, it's a hilarious job that we get to do this for a living. Our job is to talk college football. So we have discussions in the office about, different things for the 2025 season and what's a good segment. And we kept coming back to this idea of who can actually compete for a national championship in 2025. Because everyone's talking about the future of the college football playoff being at 14 teams and 16 teams, and we're like, man, is there really 16 teams in college football that can win a national championship any given year? I think this upcoming season is maybe as open as a college football season as we've ever had. And as we sit here right now, I've got 9 teams that I think can actually compete for a national championship. So in no particular order, let's go through these teams. Oregon, to me, I said it before during the show, it really feels inevitable they win one under Dan Lanning. Is it this year? I don't know. But I go down the list of what my national champion would have to have, and they check a lot of boxes. Do they have a quarterback? They think they do. I don't think Will Stein takes bad quarterbacks. The last 2 were Heisman finalists. Dante Moore got a full year in the system. Okay, check. Roster talent, you got to have it. 3 of the top 10 classes for the last 3 recruiting cycles. 2 top 5 portal classes. Okay, check. Culture, Dan Lanning, check. So I like Oregon a lot. I don't see a reason why they can't go compete for a national championship in 2025. Go ahead and add them to the group. Ohio State, tell me why they can't repeat. You got 2 of the best players in the sport. You might have number 1 and number 2 in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, respectively. Nothing but top 5 classes on your roster. A head coach who's won a national championship, so therefore he knows what it looks like, feels like to have a national championship kind of culture internally in Columbus. So we'll go ahead and check that box for us. Do they have a quarterback? We'll see, but my bet right now is yes. I think Julian Sayin, I've said it many times, absolute psychopath for him deciding to go pursue Ohio State when he hits the transfer portal. And seeing him in the spring game, if that was the preview, I can't wait to see the movie. Go ahead and book it. Ohio State has everything they need to go win a national championship, on paper at least, as we sit here in May. Georgia, they're part of this group, can absolutely still win a national championship. People talking about Georgia having a down year last year and falling off, and it's like they still won the SEC. We all know that, right? I think last year was Georgia's probably – I think it was Kirby's best coaching job at Georgia, to say the least. This is a team that, to me, feels more dangerous. We say it a lot. Kirby Smart majors in manufacturing that chip on Georgia's shoulder. He doesn't have to manufacture that this year. I mean, they're coming back with a quarterback everyone's questioning with Gunnar Stockton. Everyone's questioning what the physicality is for Georgia, the defense. You got a head coach, not a head coach. You got an assistant coach saying that, anonymously, saying that Georgia's thin at linebacker, which is, I don't know where they got that from. Georgia in the portal, I think, also answered a lot of questions at the receiver position with Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch. Bottom line, I love Georgia. I think the fact that they are having people speaking down on them right now is advantageous to them and makes them more dangerous. So Georgia, they can definitely compete for a national championship. For Texas, they can absolutely win a national championship. I think the floor for them is already super high to begin with because of how Steve Sarkisian has recruited. Receiver, they feel good. Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, cool. Secondary, Michael Taft leading that thing, cool. Defensive front 7, Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons. I keep naming a lot of names for Texas, and it's almost a bad habit to do when you talk about Texas because I don't think it's overly educational for us when we have this conversation from a content point of view. But I think the fact that we have so many names to go through when you talk about Texas kind of leads us to the point we're making. They're super talented. Across the board, they're super talented. Is there maybe less experience than last year? Sure. But if Arch Manning is a version of what he is projected to be, Texas is going to have a chance to go win the whole darn thing and maybe win the SEC in the process. So Texas absolutely can go compete for a national championship. Now, here's the team that, y'all, I'm falling more and more in love with as this thing progresses. I told you about the frozen pizza takes that we have during this part of the year, where the longer the offseason goes, the more that you get into them. The longer that night goes, the better that Red Baron or DiGiorno pizza looks in your freezer. LSU is that frozen pizza team for me. Last year, for all those that are longtime viewers of the show, my frozen pizza team was Notre Dame, and they played for a national championship. So food for thought. But LSU, the most proven quarterback in America in Garrett Nussmeier, one of the top portal classes that Brian Kelly assembled, along with Austin Thomas, their GM. What's not to like? You say maybe Brian Kelly, and I say how How much has Brian Kelly elevated LSU to this point in time? Now he's going to year 4. Like, LSU, to me, checks every single box, maybe outside of your I need to see it from the offensive line and how quickly they gel, but I love LSU. I love the way they're built, and I'm having a very difficult time talking myself through a world where LSU isn't playing for an SEC championship, and maybe at that point they're competing for a national championship. So we'll see. But LSU can definitely win a national title in 2025. Notre Dame, they can compete for a national championship in 2025. They kind of got that deluxe album feel to them from what 2024 was. Like, last year, you had a great defense, and you lose Riley Leonard from the year before, and you lose your DC, but, like, it's the same sound. It's the same hits. It's still Jeremiah Love. It's still Mike Denbrock. You just got a couple of different pieces to it, a couple of different bonus songs. Chris Ash now calling the defense, assuming CJ Carr now playing quarterback for you. But it's the same kind of album that you love. It's still Forest Hills Drive. It's still Take Care. It's still Abbey Road. It just got a few extra different songs to it that I think will be more than good enough to put them back in that national title discussion. Clemson can definitely compete for a national championship. How hilarious would it be if we finish the season late January? I guess it's January 19th, I believe, in Miami. And Dabo Swinney is having the last laugh on the 2025 season for college football. A guy who didn't major in the portal, has been pretty outspoken about how he feels about NIL, and Clemson, in the new world of college football, wins the national championship. I'll say this, right now, the way this roster is built and who they have on this roster resembles a lot of, I think, what those old Clemson teams were. Got a dude at quarterback. Cade Klubnik can be that. Was that at the end of last year for them, especially against Texas. Okay, high-intensity, aggressive defense. Yeah, bringing Tom Allen from Penn State. It was the team that was top 15 in their sack rate a year ago out there in Happy Valley. Okay, check that box. Guys at wide receiver. Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, Antonio Williams, Tristan's. Like, there's a lot of guys now. A lot of guys that you hadn't seen in previous years, last 2-3 years, I should say, from Clemson, they now have at the playmaker position. So Clemson would not be shocked in the slightest if they ran through the ACC and then found themselves competing for a national championship at the end of that thing. Now, these last two teams, again, this isn't like in a specific order. We list these teams off, but I did have these two teams at the end of the segment for a purpose here because there's more caveats with them. Penn State. I've been openly skeptical, even during this show, as to what Penn State can be. Even with that being said, I think if what you're assuming could be true about them, with this being James Franklin's best roster, and the steps they've taken with landing Jim Knowles from Ohio State to call the defense, bringing back some key guys in Singleton and Aller and Katron Allen, to me it comes down to the moments for them. Okay, it's if the talent is what you believe it could be, which I need to see, but if you're telling me that's going to be the case, then we're going to go ahead and assume that's true. It comes down to those moments that I need to see Penn State go win. All right, you think about what last year was for them against Notre Dame. If they don't allow a field goal at the end of the half to make it a one-score game against Notre Dame, I mean, like, do they win that game? It's 10-0. Probably changes the way that Notre Dame is calling the offense at the end of the game. I'll say that much in the second half of that game. Do they score in the red zone against Ohio State? Probably changes Penn State's overall internal confidence, probably changes their outlook for how they see themselves in that playoff field. I don't know, but I think that could change some things. So the best way to distill this down to what I think about Penn State, if the talent is where you say it is, can they win those moments? And if they can, then like we'll see. But there's nothing there for Penn State where I'm saying, assuming talent's at that level, they got a lot on paper that you like for them to be a national title contender. All right, so kind of riding the fence on Penn State there, but so be it. We'll go ahead and put them in the national title discussion for teams that could win it. Last thing I want to talk about here, and this is the most major caveat because it's at the most important position, but Alabama's on my list here. Alabama is my 9th team that I think could win a national championship as we sit here in the month of May. Everyone has questions right now at quarterback, different plays. I shouldn't say everyone. A lot of teams across college football have questions at quarterback as to what they're going to get. Even Texas, what's Arch Manning? You talk about Ole Miss, what's Austin Simmons? You talk about Notre Dame, who is CJ Carr? But the thing with Alabama is, outside of quarterback, I feel enormously confident in all they have within that building, to where if Ty Simpson or Keelan Russell or Austin Mack is a bona fide guy, then I think Alabama can go win a national championship. I've spoken ad nauseum about the receivers. I think that their defense, with what they were last year, having another year in Kane Wommack's system, being top 10 in the country last year, over half that production back, okay, great. A coach now who, let's call a spade here, he's still one of the best in the game. I understand last year was down relative to Bama standards. He's still only 2 years removed from competing for a national championship at Washington. All right, now Washington had a lot of NFL talent, but Kalen DeBoer, I think, elevated that talent to an NFL level. So last year they won 9 games without being settled in a quarterback that actually fit Kalen DeBoer's system. Ryan Grubb now calling the offense, who is the Batman to Kalen DeBoer's Batman, as we've said many times on the show. A lot there, but I think Bama, given a guy at quarterback, can win a national championship. So let's recap it here. Who is my team, or who? Well, grammar's tricky. Who are our teams who can win a national championship as we see it right now during the month of May? Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Notre Dame, Clemson, Penn State. Riding the fence, but Penn State is in that group for me, as is Alabama. Subject to change, but that's how we feel about the whole thing right now. Wide open college football season. We're going to enjoy all of it, and we'll look back on that list. And I think one of the national champions, or I think one of those teams will be a national champion at the end of the season. Well, man, we appreciate y'all making the show what it is. Again, we are going to have an absolute blast talking about college football on this show. We're going to have an absolute blast doing it with y'all. So for Cato on the ones and twos, for myself, Jody PicKell, follow on the socials, Instagram, Twitter. Let me know what you want to see. And we're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.